that this was 8 blocks from my home, that there could be a family of beavers living 8 blocks from my home. And you could see the lodge, you could see other wildlife. Actually, the second time I photographed the beavers, I saw an otter right at the beaver lodge. So I kind of knew this was something special and this was something worth paying attention to. I really wanted other people to know it, so I started to write articles for the local paper and put those pictures in the paper so that people would see it.
And I'm going to mention that Heidi Perryman runs, and her organization run an incredible website. You can learn more about the beavers of Martinez, the urban beavers, as it were, by going to martinezbeavers.org, or you can just type in the term worth a damn into Google, and it'll take you right to it. You can see pictures of these incredible animals and the restored Alhambra Creek and the beautiful footbridges and traffic bridges that go across the creek now. And it's a really incredibly inspiring story, because oftentimes when we do these things for different reasons, we have unexpected consequences. And we're going to be right back with Heidi right after this break, right here on Living Green Radio. But right now we're talking about a different sort of hide. We're talking about beavers, which were once hunted nearly to extinction for their wonderful, luxurious pelts. And recently they're making a comeback. But oftentimes when we think about beavers, we think about them, we think about, well, like the Northwoods or Canada or Yellowstone National Park. You probably don't think of a downtown suburban area just in the San Francisco Bay Area, but amazingly, that is where some beavers have shown up. We are talking to Heidi Perryman. She is with the martinezbeavers.org. Go to her website. It's really quite fascinating. You can see videos, you can see photographs of the urban beavers of Martinez. And Heidi, I wanted to ask the question because, of course, when the city of Martinez did this wonderful habitat restoration, they didn't really expect to encourage beavers to come into the Alhambra Creek. But where do you think the beavers came from? I mean, did someone bring them there, or where did they? How did they get there?
That's a great question, and I hear that a lot. But honestly, there are beavers all over this watershed. There are beavers all over the Delta. There are other beaver colonies, even in Martinez. And in fact, beavers are highly territorial. So one of the things that they do is they make these scent marks at the edge of their territory to keep other beavers away. And several times we've been called down to say, someone says there's a dead beaver at the marina or something. And we go down to check if it's one of ours. And it's not. These are other colonies that are living right at the edge of our colony wanting to move in. If this colony was removed, there would be another shortly.
And that's a really interesting sort of thing to say, because you use the word our colony, talking about the beavers, of course, but also talking, it kind of refers to our colony as in the city, because, these beavers, they came into the city and they kind of, are living with us instead of against us. And we have to really understand that. And it really is quite an amazing story, and we're going to get back to more about the urban beavers of Martinez in just a few minutes. And of course, like I said, you can learn more by going to martinezbeavers.org. But we're also asking the question today: what is your staycation? And I can imagine a really good staycation would be to go and enjoy the Beaver Festival.
Absolutely.
That happens every year.
That happens all the time. People come down.
Right, and enjoy, something where you can discover something in your own backyard. And I thought it was a particularly good time to bring that up. And we've been getting the question today, what is your staycation? And we have another answer here from Carol and Doug in Greenville, South Carolina. Our staycation is our affordable alternative to traveling overseas by exploring our state, catching up on all we missed right here in our own backyard. We have a brand new Prius that we get more than 50 miles per gallon and stay only at motels that are stated green. You can also stay at locally owned motels. Now, of course, we're going to go again to another break here in just a second, and we'll be right back with more of Heidi and the Martinez Beavers, because it really is quite an amazing story. And I have a couple other questions. We did mention a little bit about the Martinez Beaver Festival, and we just missed that, didn't we, Heidi?
Yes, we had our second festival at the beginning of August.
And we're gonna, and we have several listeners who asked some questions about the festival and the Beavers, and we'll be right back with more of that and the insight from the city of Martinez with one of the city councilmen from Martinez, who's very pro-Beaver, actually. We'll be right back right after these breaks, right here on Living Green Radio. And I got a question from William in New Zealand, and you were mentioning a little bit earlier about how beavers are very territorial, and of course, so that brings up the question that these beavers are, thriving, and they're really, doing well in the Alhambra Creek there in downtown Martinez. So what happens when they start having children? Will those beavers, those baby beavers, be welcomed into the city?
The beavers keep their children with them for 2 or 3 years, and then those kits are all grown up. They're yearlings, they're called, and they disperse. They go off on their own. They have to go at least 2 miles away. They can go as far as 30, and start their own lives. They become their own beavers.
And so those beavers will basically kind of swim down the waterway or swim up the waterway looking for a new spot that's basically doesn't have any beavers in it right now, and they'll start their own family, find a mate, and start to build their own primary dam and lodge, right?
Correct.
And
we've had 2 of our 2007 kits have dispersed. So we have launched 2 children.
Now, do you guys, I want to ask a little bit about martinezbeaver.org and about your group. What do you guys do? Are you actually trying to monitor the beavers by, trying to, name them or number them and try to figure out what they're doing?
Well, we do try to observe the habitat and make sure that the family is doing okay, and if there's any problem, pay attention to it. And we try to observe any new species and really make sure of what's happening down there. But we also do a lot of community education. We do classroom education. We try to talk about the value of beavers in the watershed so that lots of different environmental organizations can understand it.
And, we were getting a couple different questions, and one of the questions that's been posed was, what is the relationship between the Wortha Dam Conservation Group and Friends of Alhambra Creek? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we're definitely friends. The head of Friends of Alhambra Creek is Igor Skerdoff, and he was committee.
Looks like we lost you there for just a second. Are you there?
I am.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, so Igor was on the subcommittee of the Beaver Study Group with me, and during that time, he wasn't quite sure whether beavers were a good idea for the creek or not, and I would consider him a convert. So he went and did a lot of beaver boning up himself, and at this point, he and I have a really good relationship, and we often do joint watershed explanation beaver tours to kind of talk about these things can really work well together. That beavers take care of creeks, and they also take care of lots of other wildlife.
And I guess that kind of brings up another question, because, when you guys were pro-beaver, and at first the Friends of the Alhambra Creek were going, I don't know, we've got this lovely creek, we don't particularly want to have it, beaverized, I don't know what would be the right term there, beavercated, but it seems like, to me, I would think that if you're restoring something, and you're daylighting the creek, and you're allowing natural riparian plants to come back into the area, and you're trying to make it accessible to the public, that you would want to encourage as much wildlife as possible. And my understanding is that you guys have actually seen that there's a huge increase in the amount of wildlife that's populating the Alhambra Creek now. Definitely, and the biggest news lately is that we saw a family of mink with a mother mink and four kits, I guess. It was very surprising, and they've been seen several times. But I think the primary concern wasn't the wildlife. The primary concern is that Martinez has had a historic problem way before beavers of flooding, and so whether the dam would contribute to the risk of flooding. And that's why the city initially responded by saying the beavers were going to be exterminated. And the only reason that was blocked is because these beavers were so well seen and well known that there was a lot of public outcry
about that.